Raw this week was a taped show because the WWE crew is in the UK. They are on tour right now as we speak. So they taped 2 episodes of Raw last week instead of the usual live airing that they do. And I'm also told a lot of the segments that they taped aired out of order on tonight's show. The biggest thing on the show tonight, and honestly the most important thing on the show tonight, ties into the bloodline story. We had Jey Uso making an appearance in a couple of different backstage segments, trying to talk to his brother Jey. We saw Roman Reigns and Jey Uso on SmackDown Friday night, outnumbered by the bloodline. Jey Uso telling Roman Reigns, "We need help." Even though Roman Reigns does not want help, he does not want Jey Uso's help. But Jimmy made no bones about it. He said, "We need help." So they taped these segments, in advance of that. It's also possible they could have taped these backstage at SmackDown on Friday and just kind of worked them into the show. But whenever they did it, there was Jey Uso trying to have a word with his brother, and his brother wanted nothing to do with him. And I was very happy to see that, because that's exactly the way it should be. Jey Uso should not want to help his brother. Jey Uso should not want to help his cousin. Jey Uso's got a good thing going right now on Monday Night Raw. He is the Intercontinental Champion. And so it's going to take a little bit more than just a simple conversation to bring Jey into the fold. It makes you wonder if maybe the way to get to Jey is to go through one of Jey's friends, and that is, of course, Sami Zayn, who was not on the show tonight. But that was honestly the most kind of important development, I would say, that we had on Raw tonight. On the entire show, and that's a show where we had both world champions, the WWE champion and the world heavyweight champion, Cody Rhodes and Gunther. They came face to face, previewing their match at Crown Jewel in a few weeks, and we had a lot of different people on the show tonight. Cody was not the only one. We had Nia Jax, we had Tiffany Stratton, multiple people. Jey Uso, who were part of the SmackDown roster, were on Raw tonight. And that is part of the whole build to Raw versus SmackDown brand warfare, which is basically what we're getting at Crown Jewel with the top champions. We're getting team number 1 against team number 2, the red side and the blue side, taking the 2 main event spots at Crown Jewel for the 2 belts that don't really mean anything, but they're creating them anyway. And this is what I was worried about, because in the last few years, the Saudi shows have felt more important. They have felt more on par with any other WWE PLE, where you'll get some great matches and you'll get some storyline development out of it. This feels to me more like a hearkening back to the days of old, where you have these shows that kind of exist in their own universe, and it's questionable, how significant they're going to be in the grand scheme of things. It almost just feels like we needed a gimmick, and we're going to do the gimmick, and then when it's over, we're going to forget that it ever happened, and we're going to move on to the next. And that sucks, because at least they had gotten to a point with these shows where if you watch them, they didn't feel like throwaway shows. They actually felt kind of important. I'm not so sure this show is going to feel very important. Even though you have the 2 world champions, male and female, facing off against each other, there's nothing on the line of any importance. There's just some new belt that they created. So we have few more weeks of this in building to Crown Jewel, and it almost makes WWE programming feel missable. And I hate that. I hate that feeling. They'd gotten away from that, and now with this gimmick, it feels like we're right back to where we were before. We had the women's tag team titles on the line as well tonight. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, they defended their titles against Damage Control. The same Damage Control that they got the belts from in the first place when they won those titles. I'll give you one guess how that match went. Here's a hint. It was taped last Monday, and we had the women's tag team champions on TV on Friday. So that pretty much tells you all you need to know. And Raw is war. Yes, the Viking Raiders made their return to TV after a very long absence tonight, and they did so under their old War Raiders name from NXT. They even had their old NXT theme music back. You liked it, huh? You like it? Enjoy it. Because it probably won't last. The theme music, that is. They pulled this crap before where they bring the old music back and you get it for a few weeks and then they take it away from you. And then we end up with a Def Rebel special. This is your Monday Night Raw / SmackDown review. It's basically what it felt like. For October 14th, 2024, I am the Solomonster.
Get the body in the proper position for the strapation dudes.
Oh, it's strapation time. Totally obscene. David Thiering with the $28, the new $28 super chat. David, thank you. You're taking this to a very dark place way too early in the night. Thank you, sir. Yes, super chats are open, including that one and many others. If you would like to drop a dono, I'll be reading your messages if you want to support the stream. And of course, we are on our road to 82,000 subscribers. We're very, very close. I don't know if we're going to hit it tonight or not. That's going to be up to you guys. But if you are not subscribed, please go ahead and do so. And hit that like button as well. Also want to let you guys know that in the spirit of Halloween, we have got a couple of Halloween-themed t-shirts up in the store right now for purchase on ProWrestlingTees.com/SolomonsterSoundsOff. If you Speaking of Halloween, it's very scary. But if you want to get them, order them now if you want to get them in time for Halloween. So those are up right now in the PWT's store. There should be a link to the store in the description down below, so you can check it out there. So again, this was a tape show, and there have been tape shows in the past that are actually very good. This was not a bad show, but it was a victim of the taped show syndrome that sometimes strikes, where you have a show that just doesn't feel important. It feels very missable. And that's what this show was. This show felt very missable. Crowd wasn't always terribly enthusiastic, which, I mean, you can't blame them because they sat through 2 tapings. That's why, if you noticed, we had crowd sweetening various times throughout the show tonight. And I haven't really detected any of it in a while, but it was very noticeable tonight. So unfortunately, that's what happens in these situations when you have crowds that are very tired. And they also tape segments not in front of the live crowd, very likely edited in after the fact. And you kind of get that background white noise that they pipe in. We had a lot of that tonight, unfortunately. But they opened the show with Rhea Ripley making her way down to the ring. Rhea was not on the live show last week. Remember, there was that couple in the crowd that had a sign that said they were delaying their honeymoon. They were just married. And they were delaying their honeymoon because they wanted to come see Rhea Ripley live. And then Rhea wasn't even on the first show. I said, she better be on the show this week that they were taping. Otherwise, boy, are they going to feel stupid. And she was there. And she came out to the ring. She said that she wasn't finished with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. She called them out. Tiffany Stratton from SmackDown, Ms. Money in the Bank, made her way out. Joined Rhea in the ring and said she had a message to deliver. She said Rhea needs to stay out of Nia Jax's business or they are going to have a very big problem. So Rhea said she didn't have time for this. She either gets her hands on Liv and Raquel tonight or she can welcome Tiffany to Raw in her own special way. So Morgan and Rodriguez, they ended up attacking both Rhea and Tiffany from behind and left them both laying. Now, when this was over... Oh, by the way, I should point out, I just talked about this story on the podcast this weekend. At the end of this segment, Tiffany Stratton was left laying and her shoes were off. So she was laying in the ring and she had no shoes on. And I do hope that the person who got kicked out of the hotel where the NXT talents were staying last week, I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a man who was caught photographing the feet of the women from the NXT roster as they were entering the hotel. He was ejected from the hotel, found his way back in, and then got kicked out again. So I'm sure he's going back and he's rewinding this segment. He's zooming in. It's going to be like the fucking Zapruder footage from the Kennedy assassination. So anyway, in the back, after this, Rhea told Adam Pearce that she wanted to face Liv Morgan and Raquel tonight. Pearce said that he spoke with them and the match was on, but she needs to find a tag team partner. Rhea didn't have a tag team partner. What do you want me to do? All of a sudden, Tiffany showed up and she was complaining that Nick Aldis wouldn't be treating her this way. What are you going to do to correct this? And so Pierce looked at Rhea and said, how about her? And Rhea wasn't happy about it, but she said, fine. Tiffany had no idea what he was talking about. He said, oh, you'll find out. So that set up the main event for later in the show. Yankees win. Did somebody say Yankees win in the live chat? Look at this. Look at all these freaks in the chat. Talking about Instagram pages, their little feet emojis. You were all at the hotel, weren't you? Just sneaking around, creeping around. Bunch of freaks. We have Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill against Damage Control, Io Sky and Kairi Sane for the women's tag team titles. Again, they gave the finish away by having Jade and Bianca defending the titles on SmackDown Friday night, after this show had already been taped. So Bianca and Jade beat Damage Control back at Backlash in France to win the tag team titles originally, but it wasn't this combination of Damage Control. It was Asuka and Kairi at the time. Here they were facing Io and Kairi. But the difference being that they're all baby faces now. You know, Damage Control before were the heels. So they went out there and they had a good match. Really, Damage Control is the only credible challenger for Bianca and Jade that are on the roster right now. There really is nobody else. So I was looking forward to the match, and it was a good match. Jade saved Bianca from an insane elbow, and they both grabbed Kairi and they swung her hard into the barricade. Jade and Bianca, they had some words for Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson from NXT who were in the crowd. They did a horrible job of getting these two women over on SmackDown Friday night, because it was Lash and Jakara against Bianca and Jade. And from the moment that Lash and Jakara came out to make their entrance, they were interrupted by Kevin Owens for a more important segment. Then they gave these two women a 2-minute match, the majority of which, the focus was on Chelsea Green, somebody on the outside who was not even part of the match. So they did a fucking horrendous job of showcasing these. And again, I understand if it wasn't meant to be a showcase and that they were going over or they're permanently called up, but it was their first appearance on TV, and you only get one chance to make a first impression, and I thought they did a fucking terrible job using those two ladies on Friday. But they were in the crowd here, and we got the usual Jade Cargill hot tag spot. They do it in every single match that Bianca and Jade have, because it works, and it's smart, but it's very noticeable. They do it every single time. Io wiped out the champions with a springboard moonsault to the floor. So after Bianca and Jade initially were exchanging words with Lash Legend on the outside, now Io goes over. Io is exchanging words with her as well, so Lash nails her with a forearm. And then back in the ring, that allowed Bianca to hit the KOD to Io to pick up the win and retain the tag team titles. Bianca and Jade, they retained, but they tried to keep Damage Control as credible challengers, in case they want to run this back again, by having Lash take the cheap shot. That's what led to Io taking the loss here in this match. It also probably means, maybe as early as tomorrow night, that we may get something with Damage Control against Lash Legends and Jakara Jackson, or at least maybe they make an appearance, set up a match for next week. But then again, I thought that that's what they were doing on SmackDown on Friday by having Chelsea Green and Piper Niven outside the ring. I thought, and Lash booted Chelsea over the announce desk, and I thought, well, maybe they're setting something up for NXT this week. I don't think they've announced anything yet, so who the hell knows? Finn Balor and JD McDonough, they approached Adam Pearce in the back. Balor wanted a rematch against Damian Priest, and Pearce basically blew him off because he said, you guys need to defend the tag team titles. Yeah, I would say so. The most boring fucking tag team title run of the year. Finn Balor and JD McDonough. And I thought the Young Bucks were bad. Fucking 4 months or 5 months, whatever it was, without defending the titles. They haven't, 5 months haven't gone by here for these guys, but this is just fucking boring at this point. I mean, what are we doing here? So Liv Morgan, Dominic, Carlito, they showed up. And Balor seemed more concerned here about getting his hands on Damian Priest than defending the tag team titles. He walked off. Liv then introduced McDonough and Carlito to Raquel Rodriguez, who walked in. Still, she has not spoken, so she didn't say anything here, but she walked into the camera frame. And the story here, the underlying story here, is that Carlito seemed smitten with Raquel. He was speechless. He looked very... You know what he looked like? He looked like Okada in those backstage segments on Dynamite whenever Mercedes shows up. He's like, oof. He's pulling his collar. He's like patting his forehead. So they're going to do this story now, where Carlito has a thing for Raquel. They aired an American-made video package. That then led into a Bron Breakker video package. That's the other thing about these tape shows. You get a lot of video packages, which is not a bad thing in and of itself, but when you have one right after the other, it's a little much. So we had a Bron Breakker video package, and a promo here he cut in this video on Jey Uso. Bron said that he showed Jey respect last week when he came out, or the week before when he came out, to shake his hand. He was offended, though, that Jey did not return that respect. That's why he attacked him. Bron said that they're not the same. They were not just a couple of second and third generation wrestlers counting on their family's legacy. Bron didn't need his family. He didn't need their name. And as he was saying this, they were flashing, shots on screen of Rick and Scott Steiner. He says when he surpasses his family one day, they will be there to give him their stamp of approval. Unlike Jey Uso. He said Jey has been... Now, this is what he said. I'm just repeating what the man said. He said Jey has been sucking off his family's legacy for 14 years. He's been sucking them off for 14 years. Boy, it's amazing this guy's got any lips left at this point. Needs some chapstick, this guy. Wow. So he's been sucking him off for a long time. Jey decided that he wanted then to do things on his own, but he's also going to take this ass kicking on his own. Bron said he was coming for his Intercontinental Championship, and Jey's family could not save him. As soon as he said that, the first thing I thought of was Jimmy Uso, and this is before we even saw Jimmy on the show tonight. When he mentioned the thing about not even your family is going to be able to save you, the first thing I thought of was his brother. And Jey is going to be defending the Intercontinental title next week. They're doing the match between him and Bron Breakker on Raw next Monday night. I certainly would not have Jey Uso. If Bron Breakker is not going to win the Intercontinental title back, and it's very possible that he will, but if he doesn't, I don't see the benefit in it for him if he just goes in there and loses clean for a second time to Jey Uso. So I would imagine that maybe what we're looking at here is maybe a disqualification for whatever reason, maybe a disqualification finish, and then an angle post-match where Bron is about to destroy Jey, or he's spearing him, he's going to spear him again, and out comes Jimmy to make the save for his brother. Not something that Jey asked for or wanted him to do, but Jimmy hits the scene. Family shows up in support of Jey, and we get another week where Jey kind of brushes him off and says, "What are you doing here? Leave me alone. I don't want your help. I don't need your help." Something along those lines. That's how I see it playing out next week. We're going to get to the Jimmy Uso stuff here in a little bit. So from those two videos, I mentioned video packages galore here on this show. We had two video packages, then we had another one. This was the third straight pre-tape. This one was a sit-down interview that Adam Pearce himself conducted with Bronson Reed, who we have not seen since the last Monster Standing match a couple of weeks ago. For some reason, they were sitting outside. Maybe it was just a delightful night, Didn't they have the Northern Lights were shown the other night? I didn't see it. I don't know if we could see it here from New York. Maybe they just wanted to sit under the stars. I don't know, but it was nighttime and they're sitting outside. Pierce said that he can't have Reed's antics, him wreaking havoc and all kinds of chaos on the show. Reed said that everything he's done is about proving that he can be a top guy in WWE, and he just wanted a match against Seth Rollins. If it wasn't for Seth, he said that he would have been the last monster standing over Braun Strowman. So Pierce said that he would talk to Rollins about the match if Reed agreed not to cause more trouble, and he agreed. And then he told Pierce he's a smarter businessman than he thought, and then he told him, don't make me wait too long for an answer. The best part of this, Bronson Reed is sitting there wearing a Big Van Vader t-shirt. I loved it. From one great big man to another. We had the Alpha Academy, Otis and Tozawa in the Raw Tag Team Title #1 Contenders Tournament. Yes, we have a tournament. Adam Pearce set it up because we need contenders for those tag team titles. Who would their opponents be? That was the question. Why, it's the Viking Raiders. Only they are no longer the Viking Raiders. They are once again back to being the War Raiders, Eric and Ivar. They got their old name back. So they're the War Raiders now, and they got their theme music back from NXT. And as I said before, at least for now, they got their music back from NXT. We've been down this road before. It wasn't that long ago that old Shamo, remember Sheamus, he got his old music back, right? Lobsterhead. How long did that last? 2 weeks? Somehow they gave him an even shittier theme. As if they can't get any worse. This is by far, the theme music that Sheamus has right now is the worst music he's had his entire career. Even the music he had before wasn't bad. When he was with Cesaro and they had their tag team, like the music he has now sucks. So I'm glad that they gave them their music back, but is it going to last? I don't know. History would dictate no. Now, Ivar has been out of action since April. He underwent spinal surgery of some kind. Eric has been gone even longer. He really was seriously hurt. And that's why we ended up getting an Ivar singles push. And he made the most of that push. It's sad that it's over now, but he was going out there every single week and he was having kick-ass matches. Because Eric wasn't around and it didn't make any sense to just bench Ivar and not do something with the guy. So that's over now. But this was Eric's first match since September of last year. Basically, this was a squash. Otis tried for a caterpillar. It got cut off, though, before he could do it. And the War Raiders won with their finishing move, which they're calling the Fallout, where Eric will pick the other, or one of the opponents up, almost in like a side slam position, throw them up into the air, just as Ivar comes off the top rope with a splash. So the Raiders advance. 3 words that the fans in Vegas will not be hearing this season. Next week, they're giving us 2 more first-round tournament matches. The New Day are going to take on the Authors of Pain, and the Creed brothers are going to be taking on Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. We also got a Dragon Lee video package on this show, which is nice and all. I mean, video packages for talent help get the talent over. They're good. It's a positive step. Video packages alone are not going to do anything, though, if they're not accompanied by some form of creative to get that person on television and get them involved in some story on the show. So it's nice, but now we have to wait and see if it actually leads to anything beyond this match next week, where he and Rey are going to be teaming up in this tournament. I don't know if there's any more teams to be added to this tournament. There's going to be another match or 2 matches. I have no idea. Balor and McDonough, one thing I do know, they need to drop those belts. Okay, it's fucking boring at this point. They're holding the belts hostage. They're not doing anything with them. Get them off of them. So the sooner they get those belts off these 2, the better. Right now, just looking at who's in the tournament, you got the War Raiders, you got Rey and Dragon Lee. If they want baby faces to go to the final and to challenge Balor and McDonough, it's either Rey and Dragon Lee or it's the New Day. And right now, I would think it would be the New Day. And then maybe they shoot the angle where Xavier Woods finally snaps, because we know it's building to that. We know it's leading to something. You know, they get one more crack at those tag team titles. They fall short. And that could be it. That could be the straw that breaks the camel's back for Xavier Woods. But It'll make me very sad because these guys need to lose these titles. I'm sorry. How does anybody find this entertaining? They walk around with these belts. What do they mean? They don't defend them. There really isn't much of a division. I mean, they have teams, but it just doesn't feel like there's much of an active division right now. But you've got, beyond Balor and McDonough, I mean, you've got teams. You've got the Wyatt Six, even though we never get to see them. You could use some combination of the Wyatt Six in the tag team division if you wanted to. You've got American Made. Now you got the Vikings back. You've got the New Day. You've got AOP. Who else am I missing? I think there's at least one more team. Alpha Academy. So, all right, you got a decent number of teams, but do something with the tag team titles. If the New Day go to the finals of this tournament, I don't see them winning the tag team titles. If Ray and Dragon Lee go to the finals, I could see them winning the tag team titles. So I guess I would be rooting for Ray and Dragon Lee to go on. But the New Day, they're the ones that have the story that's ongoing. Backstage, Adam Pearce was with Seth Rollins, another pre-tape segment here that clearly did not air in front of the live audience. You could hear the piped-in white noise in the background. And he informed Seth that Bronson Reed wants the match just as much as Seth does. Pearce expressed concern about Seth's injuries that he has endured. He pointed out that Rollins has only worked 6 matches all year. And Rollins said, look, you fight through the injuries to get to the top. It's part of the game. He said, once you get there, young guys like Reed will try to make a name off of you. He said, it happened to you. It's happened with me. And now Reed is doing the same thing. He said he's slayed beasts. He's conquered kings. You know what? You know what he likes the sound of? Hunting a monster. I took that as a threat. Hopefully he was referring to Bronson Reed. So Rollins said he needs the fight. He needs people like Reed to bring out the best in him. And Rollins said that Pearce needs the best version of him for Monday Night Raw. So they didn't make anything official, but Crown Jewel would seem like the right place to do that match. And I hope that Bronson Reed goes over. I hope he goes over in that first match. Otherwise, I think they're making a big mistake. The WWE Champion was in the house. Cody Rhodes was on Raw for the second week in a row. Made his way out to the ring. Shout out to everybody who is joining right now here on a Monday night for a taped episode of Raw. We're at 256 likes, so let's get that like count up. Hit that thumbs up, and perhaps we will we will boy the booker. Perhaps we will be the booker later on in the stream, or not. I love Dominic here hanging upside down. Ricky says, boring Cody. He's not a fan of Cody. Is Cody not setting the world on fire for you when he comes out to the ring? What do you want him to do? What you want him to come out? He could dance to the ring. Cody comes out there, man. He's like the quintessential politician. Every time he comes out and he's smacking hands, I feel like he's at a campaign rally. You know, when they come out and they're smacking hands with people and they're taking pictures and they're signing a quick autograph as they're continuing to walk along. It's like one big campaign. Cody said he was proud to be in a city with such a rich pro wrestling history since they were in St. Louis. I've been to St. Louis. It is a very rich wrestling city. I've been to the St. Louis Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. I have seen all of the artifacts. It's a very cool thing. It's not even a formal Hall of Fame building. It's been many years since I was there. When I was there, it was in the back of a store. I don't know where it is these days. It was in, where was it? The South County Mall, I think, at the time. I know it's moved since then. But yes, it is a city that is steeped in wrestling history. And he mentioned Sam Mushnick. He mentioned wrestling at the Chase. So I ask you a question. How many people do you think in that crowd on that show knew what the fuck he was talking about? How many people in the building do you think even know who Sam Mushnick is? How many people in that crowd ever heard of wrestling at the Chase? Probably not the majority. Makes me sad. So Cody said something happened in this building that changed his life for the better. He said that it was in St. Louis that the We Want Cody chants were born. He said that he was sure someone would call him a politician. Woo! Who, me? I would never do such a thing. He's sure someone would call him a politician, but there's nothing political about what he was doing. Cody thanked the fans. He said very, very much. Gunther, the world heavyweight champion, made his way out and he joined Cody in the ring. He said he would normally come out and dress down his opponent, but there really wasn't much negative to say about Cody. He said the company, the business, the sport is in a boom period like it's never been in before, and it's all built on Cody's back. He said Cody makes all of the shows in various countries and continents. He called him the quarterback. He said that he has a lot of respect for Cody. He said that if there is one thing he wanted to bring up, you just want to be everybody's darling, don't you? He pointed to him being at odds right now with his friend Kevin. This was taped before SmackDown on Friday, so there really wasn't much that he could say about it because the segment on Friday had not yet played itself out. Gunther said he expects Cody to sort out his business because he expects the best version of Cody when they come to Saudi Arabia. Cody said that what Gunther thinks is his greatest weakness, he actually considers to be his greatest strength. He said he wanted to make an observation from one champion to another. He said that he's seen what happens when Gunther throws everything at an opponent who keeps coming back. He said Gunther gets uncomfortable and that he was broken by Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. He said Gunther thinks he's swimming in the deep water, but his feet are still touching the bottom of the pool because he's never been in the ring one-on-one with him. Gunther said that was spoken like a true secondary champion. And Cody said that Gunther has become a frightening beast. He took issue with being called a secondary champion and pointed out that he beat the most dominant champion in company history and has already slayed a frightening beast. Then Cody dropped the mic, he offered his hand, and Gunther accepted, and he said, yes, good luck to me, the champion. And he walked off. Not much of a segment here. They both projected confidence, as you would expect. I mean, they're the champions of their respective brands, so of course they would. But again, it's the same brand warfare crap from Survivor Series. It's Raw versus SmackDown for bragging rights. Who's going to get the big shiny belt at Crown Jewel? Neither of their championships are on the line. There's nothing else that's at stake that's going to matter on November 3rd. And that's my issue with it. It's fine that they want to have a gimmick that they can come back to every year for Crown Jewel. But the problem with that is that it just doesn't feel important. What are we building to here? We're building with basically a one and done type of thing. And we're fighting over a belt that didn't even exist a few days ago and that we're not going to see again until next November. And does anybody really care? I don't think so. They'll still have a good match, though, but it was very obvious in this segment that they were piping in crowd noise. This is where they aired the Dragon Lee video package that I mentioned before. After this, we had Bron Breakker one-on-one with Kofi Kingston. No Xavier Woods at ringside in Kofi's corner. He decided he wanted to go it alone. It wasn't a squash. It went 8 minutes, but it ended the way that you would expect. Kofi went for a move from the ropes. He got caught by Breakker and then suplexed over. Breakker lowered the straps, and then he speared Kofi for the win. You know, it's pretty incredible when you really stop and think about it. Kofi Kingston won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. Not too many people can say that they did that. There are people that have won the WWE title. But to win the WWE title at WrestleMania is a big deal. And he held on to that championship for 6 months. Bron Breakker just pinned a former WWE champion. Now, I know that Kofi is booked like just another guy these days, which is what he was before he won the WWE title. So he basically is right back to where he was before. But you would think that it would do some good for Bron to really play up the fact that he beat somebody like that, but they make no mention of it. It's like it never even happened. I mean, why not push that fact? Why not take advantage of that and say, wow, instead of it just being another win for Bron Breakker just made relatively short work of a former WWE champion. After the match, Breakker went after Kofi. Xavier Woods hit the ring to make the save when Woods turned his attention to Kingston when he thought Bron was leaving. Breakker got back into the ring and he knocked him down. That brought out Jey Uso, who super kicked Breakker and then followed with a spear, and then he helped Kofi to his feet. We'll come back to Jey here in a second. Damian Priest was in the back with Rhea Ripley, and he asked Rhea if she wanted his help at ringside for her match later on tonight. She says she had it covered, and then she asked Priest if he had given any more thought to what they had discussed. Priest said that he had. Ripley said, "It's time for you to get back what was stolen from you." And Priest said, "Look, even though I beat Finn Balor," because she pointed out, "You already beat Finn, you're done with the Judgment Day." He said, "Look, even though I beat Finn, if you have a problem with the Judgment Day, then I still have a problem with the Judgment Day. So basically, I've got your back." But he did agree that it was time for him to become champion again. So it looks like we could be looking at maybe Priest and Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship at Survivor Series. There was some talk about maybe Punk and Gunther. I don't like that match because I just don't see what's gained by having Punk go in there and not win, because he's not going to win the title. I don't expect him to win the title at Survivor Series. I mean, he has won a championship at Survivor Series before. He beat Alberto Del Dipshit for the belt back in Madison Square Garden. I was there for that, right? That was a big moment. But CM Punk has not been a champion in this company for, I mean, how long has it been? When he lost the title to The Rock, that was January of 2013. So it's been over a decade since Punk has held gold in this company. I would think that if he's going to win the title at some point, you would save that for a much bigger show. And so if he's going to go in there and wrestle Gunther and not win, I just don't see what's gained from that. Doing a rematch with Priest and Gunther is fine. It's already been done. But when he got beat, he got cheated. It was Finn Balor who basically cheated him out of the World Championship. So it does make sense that he would want to go back after the belt, and hopefully this time it would be a fair fight, and then he'll get beat again because he's not going to win the belt back from Gunther. I just don't see him losing it to anybody at Survivor Series. Now, Jey Uso was shown walking backstage, and he gets to his locker room door. And he opens it up, and who does he find waiting for him on the inside? It's like looking into a mirror. It's his twin. Jimmy is waiting for him. And Jimmy says, "Got a second?" And Jey did not look happy at all, and he just walked away. Later on, there was a second segment in the back. Jimmy is searching the halls for Jey. He's looking in every room, looking for his brother, and then finally Jey Uso walks out of one of the rooms. He's got his title draped over his shoulder. And Jimmy says, "Look, hear me out." And Jey says, "I said no." I said, "Get out of my face, man." And he walked off. So here we go. The reconciliation begins. It's going to be long. It's going to be drawn out the way it should be. This is what they need to do. Exactly what they started to do here tonight is exactly what they should be doing, because this is what makes the story interesting. This is what makes it compelling when we eventually get that segment where they finally do meet and they have to hash things out. And I'm sure they'll do it live in front of the fans in the ring, and they'll be able to progress the story until eventually they have Jey and maybe even Sammy back in the fold, and we can get 2 War Games teams for Survivor Series. Jey is in a good spot. Why would he want to help them out? He's going to continue to say no. And it may just be where Jimmy feels, you know what? I'm not getting through to him. So I'm going to go to somebody who I know he trusts, who I know he likes and respects. And he goes to Sami Zayn. Right? Sammy and Jimmy, they always got along. Even when Jey hated Sammy in the bloodline, right? Jimmy and Sammy, they always got along. So he could go to Sammy and say, look, and Sammy will have no love lost for him either, but he's more open to talking with him. And it could be that he goes through Sammy. Sammy then meets with Jey and tries to convince him, if Jimmy can make a compelling argument, that it's the right thing to do. At least talk to your brother. Hear him out. Hear what he has to say. So this was good. I like that they did this. I wasn't expecting Jimmy on this show, though. I was a little caught off guard by that, but it does make sense because the angle they shot was on Friday. So what are they going to do? Are they going to wait until next Monday? I guess just because the show was taped, I just didn't have it in my head that they were going to splice this in, but I'm glad they did because they don't have a whole lot of time left and they got to really start to move this story along. And so this was a good first step. We had The Miz one-on-one with R-Truth. Karrion Kross and the Final Testament walked out to the ring in the middle of the match, and that distraction allowed R-Truth to roll up Miz for the win. And then Truth, because he's a delusional idiot, runs over and hugs The Miz, celebrating his win. So Truth leaves the ring, and Kross is there, and he's smiling, yeah, because Truth's all happy he won. And as soon as Truth walks past them, that smile it just disappears. It just turns into a scowl. And Priest just kind of looks and goes, bring him back. And AOP go over and they grab Truth and they throw him back into the ring. And then The Miz lays him out with a skull-crushing finale. I don't really care about any of this, but there was one other mildly interesting thing that happened here during this match. We got another Wyatt 6 glitch. We've had a few of these over the last few weeks. This one was very brief. They showed a few different graphics. One of them had Ezekiel 28:17, and it flashed on the screen. Ezekiel 28:17 says, "Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I cast you to the ground. I laid you before kings that they might gaze at you." Then they also flashed some coordinates, and those coordinates just so happen to correspond to the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, where I believe Raw is going to be taking place next week. Now, next week is the 21st, so then the 20... Is it the 20? So is it Raw or SmackDown that's at the Barclays Center? Let me see here, because I think October 25th, they are going to be... Oh, it's SmackDown. So maybe it's SmackDown. For some reason, I thought Raw was going to be in Brooklyn. I think SmackDown is coming to the Barclays Center that week. But yeah, I think they're in Philadelphia next week, so we'll see if anything major goes down. We haven't seen the Wyatt 6 since the win that they got in the street fight over American Made. So, looks like Wyatt 6 is going to be targeting Miz, given Final Testament's involvement with Miz lately. I don't know what their obsession is with the Miz, but got to give him something to do, I guess. All of a sudden, they give a shit about the Miz, these guys, but given their association with him of late, it makes sense that they would kind of get sucked into this whole thing with the Wyatt 6, and then the Wyatt 6 would have a little faction feud going on with the Final Testament. I can't say that that does much for me, but we haven't seen the Wyatt 6 in a while. And I'm all in favor of keeping them special. I don't want them on the show every week, but you got to get them on the show. So you need something for them to do. And if they're going to be baby faces, which they are right now, this is probably as good as anything they can come up with for them at the moment. You know, it's still very early in their run. They got to rack up some wins here. They got to look dominant. Let them beat the Final Testament. Let them beat up on Miz. The main event was Rhea Ripley and Tiffany Stratton taking on Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. This was Raquel's first match since February, and she looked like she was moving in slow motion. Tiffany and Rhea, they were not on the same page early on. Stratton was isolated by the heels coming out of the final break. Ripley eventually tagged in, hit Riptide on Liv Morgan, and had her pin, but Raquel broke it up. Ripley tossed Raquel out of the ring and then tagged out. Tiffany went for her prettiest moonsault ever. Liv rolled out of the way. Ripley went after Raquel at ringside. She was setting up for Riptide when Nia Jax attacked her from behind and then got into the ring. We got a cheap disqualification finish here. After the match, Rhea got in the ring. She headbutted Nia, started to muscle her up for a slam, but then Liv Morgan clipped her knee from behind. Nia put Liv down with a Samoan drop and then a leg drop, and then she encouraged Tiffany. There she is. Cash in. She wanted her to cash in her money in the bank. If you cash it in on Liv Morgan, she can't cash it in on her. So Tiffany went and grabbed the briefcase, but before she could cash in, Dominic ran out and pulled Liv Morgan to safety. And that was the end of Monday Night Raw. It was a filler episode until they come back live next week. That's really what it was. As taped shows go, this was not bad, but this was not great either. I just didn't feel all that important, which is probably the worst thing that you could say about a show like this. But it didn't. It didn't feel important, even though we had a tag team tournament that kicked off. We had a tag team title match on the show. It just did not feel important. And as I said, it was also a crowd that sat through 2 episodes of this show. And it clearly, wore them down, because if they were overly enthusiastic, they would not have had to go back to the crowd sweetening so much. It hasn't been that noticeable on the shows in a while, but it was very noticeable tonight. Yeah, as far as piping in the crowd noise that they wanted. So that really was it. As far as the show goes, not a whole lot else to say. This was the second week in a row that we had 2 hours of Raw. I thought the show was formatted better. It flowed better than it did last week. But it was taped in the same night as that first show they did last week, which was a mess. So, as I said on the podcast, the real test will be next week when they come back and they're live again. Trying to get the whole 2-hour Raw formula back in place is a work in progress for them. Again, they're working with a 3-hour roster. Yeah, when they had the draft in May, the show was 3 hours. So they have 3 hours worth of talent that they're going to have to rotate, in the meantime, until they go back to, presumably go back to 3 hours when they go to Netflix. So I think they'll get the hang of it. We'll see next week when they're live again, but I kind of give them a pass on that for this week because it was all taped in the same night. And last week was not very good as far as how they formatted the show. This week was a little bit better. What did you think of Raw for October 14th? 45.8% of you said this was a thumbs up show. 31% thumbs in the middle. 23% thumbs down. Joey says, so the main event ended in a no contest. Is that right? Why would it be a no contest? I don't understand. Why would it be a no contest? If whoever was attacked first should have gotten the disqualification win. So I guess it all comes down to when the referee rang the bell. Because she attacked Rhea, ultimately she attacked Liv as well. So maybe it was a no contest. It was a cheap finish either way. What difference does it make? What are we quibbling over here? It was either a cheap no contest or a cheap DQ. Either way, it wasn't a very good finish, but you knew you weren't going to get a clean winner here. So it wasn't a surprise, but it still sucked. And if you add up the thumbs in the middle and thumbs down, 53% of you agree with me. Let's take a look at your super chats. See what you guys thought of this show. We're at 330 likes. We had a dead Raw, and it's a dead night here. Thanks, Raw. Dead Raws make for dead streams. I don't like that. I see Sidro is with us. I could tell just based on these messages here. Sidro says, never trust a train. They have locomotives. Oh. P.S. won money at the casino again. You won $1,200 at the casino. The most I ever won was 80, I think. I cashed out immediately. Because I knew if I kept going, that 80 was going to just disappear. I said, hey, I could buy dinner, give a nice tip. There you go. Also, he says, person, What are your dogs' names? Calvin and Klein. That's not as good as the joke that Al Bundy told on Married with Children once, when he was talking to a woman in the shoe store who brought her shoes in that split on either side. And he made a very insulting comment at this woman. And she said, "You'll be hearing from my attorney." And he said, "Would that be from the law offices of Hagen and Daz?" Still one of the greatest jokes I've ever seen on TV. You're no Al Bundy, Sidro. You got some work to do. But let me finish the joke here. He said, "What are your dogs' names?" Me, Calvin and Klein. "Isn't that a brand of underwear?" Me, exactly. They're boxers. Oh.
You suck.
Oh, man. I still think the most savage joke and the greatest joke of all of the insults. There's so many great Al Bundy insults. And what I like is that I think most of those jokes that he told on the show were actually written by those women were comedians, and they were the ones who wrote the jokes. But there was one woman who he insulted her, and she stood up and, like, right in front of him, just stood up because he's sitting down, and she says, "How dare you say that to my face?" And he turns around and he says, "Well, I'd say it behind your back, but my car's only got half a tank of gas." I was like, holy shit. The writers on this show, I mean, there has not been a show like it since, and there never will be again, because you know damn well that if that show was on the air today, it would be off the air within a week. It wouldn't even last the full week. But I love it so much. If only people could laugh at themselves again. The Real CS says, "Glad to see the War Raiders back, but honest question, how long until they get a shitty Def Rebel theme? We all know that it is coming." Oh yeah, it's coming. It's coming. I give it a few weeks. I would give it a few weeks. Sidro, man, Sidro is going crazy here. Why did the ghost go to rehab? He was addicted to booze.
You suck.
And two antennas decided to get married. The ceremony was boring, but the reception was great. I'm not going to boo that. That's actually very clever. That's actually very clever. He says, "What happened when Triple H's puppy graduated college? He got a pedigree." Also, what was Jake the Snake's favorite subject in school? History. I thought it was Spanish, since he's going to be managing LFI now on AEW. Have I seen the movie The Mist? Most effed up ending. Yes, I did. I saw The Mist for the first time within the last 5 years. And yeah, that ending was... that was rough. Jerome Eugenio, I know they're trying, but Saudi PLEs still feel like filler shows. This one feels like a filler show, but a lot of the recent ones have not felt like filler shows. We had the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring in May. The winners of the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring went on to win world championships at SummerSlam. There were stakes, real stakes on the line. I'm not talking about Omaha stakes. There were real stakes on the line. And there have been other Saudi shows as well in the last few years that actually felt important. This one, I think, like I said, it harkens back to the early days, where it's just a gimmick. It's one and done, it's over, it's forgotten about, and that's it. You move on. But that hasn't been the case with a lot of the other recent ones they've done. That's the one thing I hate about this. David Thiering with the $28 super chat. There he is. I see Solomonster is at it again, giving us fresh new super chats to try out. Can't wait to see what this one is for myself. Well, David, I'm sure you were very surprised to hear about the strapation. Great to see the Mets rebound earlier today. Hopefully it continues. That's right. See, they were due for a bad game last night. So today, they made it interesting down the stretch. They don't make these freaking games easy. But they won. That's the most important thing. And now they come back to New York. Now they come to Citi Field. They could wrap this thing up by the end of the week. Alex with the 25. Brothers Solo, it's been activated. Yes, Spree mode has been activated. If the Nexus did not get buried 3 months after debuting, which faction would have been more impactful long-term, Nexus or Shield? Also, besides Daniel Bryan and Wade Barrett, which member had potential? I think the Shield still would have had more of a long-term impact. I mean, the way they were pushed and the people they were working with right off the bat, very similar to the Nexus, but the Nexus was still filled with mostly very inexperienced guys. The Shield, Roman Reigns didn't have the level of experience that Moxley and Rollins had, but the two of them certainly had a lot of experience and were very good from day one. Well, Rollins in particular was excellent from day one. Excellent worker. And I just feel like the gimmick that they had and being in the position that they were put in from day one, long term, they still would have had more of an impact. Every member of the Nexus was not going to go on to big, great superstardom. You would hope that one or two members would. I always looked at Wade Barrett and thought he's going to be a big star. And he was a star, but he wasn't as big as I thought he had the potential to be. Because at one time I thought that he could have been the biggest thing as far as like, British stars since the Bulldog came along. Like he had that potential. He had that look. He had that, verbal ability. He was a good worker. Carried himself very confidently. And it just didn't work out that way. He was slotted at a certain level, and that's fine, but he was never like a top guy. As far as which member I thought had the potential to go on to be, we'll take Daniel Bryan and put him on the side. It wasn't Skip Sheffield. Not with that gimmick, it wasn't. It was probably Justin Gabriel. I think Justin Gabriel is the one who impressed me the most out of all of them at that time. Prince Vegeta 95. What a career Karrion Kross is having. Barely wrestling and always getting into other people's business. If that's not a Hall of Fame career, I don't know what is. You laugh. He probably will eventually be in their Hall of Fame. Joseph Stewart, will Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas, be world champion in the future? No. William Valencia, first wrestling show since my dad passed away on Friday. It was hard, but I pushed through, and now I'm enjoying the sound off. Thank you for your words the other day. Well, you're very welcome, and I meant what I said. I hope you're doing as well as you can possibly be doing, and you've got a community of people here. If you ever want to hang out, talk, vent, whatever, you know that we're here for you. Nick Grasso, when are we seeing the Wyatt Six again? Or are they really going to feud them with dead acts like The Miz and The Final Testament? Is that the best they got? I would rather they feud with the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day would be a definite step up. But yes, it looks like they're going to be feuding with The Final Testament and The Miz. Justin says, is Sami Callihan going to AEW to join with Moxley? I've not heard anything in that direction. Outside of a former tag team name of theirs that was trademarked. I haven't heard anything about Sami Callihan going to AEW. If it's happening, they're keeping it under wraps because I haven't heard anything. Off Leather Wings, current NXT is better than Black and Gold NXT. Well, there you go. Hype Man Slimy, big news. When I was 8 in 2016, I met you with my dad. Wow. So you were 8 in 2016, huh? Where was this? Was this at one of the meetups? I'd love to know where this was. Devin from New Jersey, buy or sell, Sidro's jokes or Cameron Spencer's have you seen the video of Super Chats? Definitely Sidro's jokes. And Innuendo, I love you solo. When is the Q&A airing? As soon as I record the first video. I was going to record it today, and then I realized, I thought the Mets game was actually later. I thought the Mets game was like a night game. And then I remember, I said, well, shit, it starts in like 10 minutes. I guess I'm not recording a video today. I'm going to try to record the first one tomorrow and get it out. So keep your eyes peeled. That's for the question, the Q&A thread that I put up last week for channel members. You got some exclusive Q&A coming your way. Just be patient with me. I'm a very busy man. I got a lot going on. Pisco95, do you think Bobby Lashley will have a decent run in AEW? Aside from a possible Strickland feud, I don't see him doing much else. We'll have to wait and see. I would certainly hope if they're bringing him in that, given his history, given his resume, given all that he has done in other promotions, whether it's WWE, TNA, he's been a world champion in both places. He may not be a world champion in AEW, but if you bring in a Bobby Lashley and you have nothing for him to do, then you shouldn't be bringing in Bobby Lashley. And Justin says, did you hear about the guy with the onion farmer gimmick? Always stunk out the joint. I hadn't. But now I have. Bobby Lashley against Okada. Someone wants to see that match? Well, we might get it. I'd like to see that match too. The next time I am live with you guys is going to be on Wednesday night for Dynamite. That is the post-Wrestle Dream edition of Dynamite. It should be a big show because we're going to get the fallout of the Moxley angle with Bryan Danielson at the end of the pay-per-view, which was very polarizing. But we do have a new AEW World Champion. Shelton Benjamin is going to be making his in-ring debut against Lio Rush. So that has already been announced for the show. So I will be live with you then. I will not be live with you on Friday. There will be no SmackDown review this week. I will be here. I will be at the House of Glory show. It is Salvation at the NYC Arena, streaming live on Triller TV Plus at 8 p.m. Eastern. We got Nick Nemeth, TNA World Champion, making his debut against El Hijo del Vikingo, and Mike Santana defending the HOG World title against Masato Tanaka. So it's going to be a fun night, but there will be no SmackDown on Friday, so just remember that. You get me live, though, one more time this week. And tomorrow night, of course, I'll be on TNT. Cameron Spencer, there he is. I don't get why fans pay for Peacock when you can get wrestling and other live sports for free on many different sites. It is a waste of money. Well, some people don't like to pirate content. And you got a huge library of classic content on Peacock, which I find more interesting than a lot of current stuff. They have like other shows on there, current, content as far as like highlight specials. And I don't pay any attention to that stuff. But yeah, I mean, look, some people can't afford it. Some people don't want to waste the money if they're not going to really be making use of it. That makes sense to me. But otherwise, I enjoy the classic content when I have time to watch it. And I easily get all the PLEs on there. I don't have to go searching for links. I don't have to worry about watching something in fucking 480p. So it works for me. Pisco95, thoughts on Moxley being the one to dethrone Danielson. I think there were better choices, but it wasn't the worst one either. If it were my choice, it would not have been Jon Moxley. It would have been somebody like a Darby Allin or a Hangman Page. Evidently, Moxley was Danielson's hand-picked choice to be the one to end his full-time career. It's what he wanted. So, if that's what he wanted, and Tony Khan loves and respects the hell out of Bryan Danielson, just like Sting. You know, he wanted to give Sting exactly the send-off that, you know, he wanted him to have, and he wanted to do things exactly the way that Sting would have been happy with. He wanted everything to go right, and it did, and Sting had the best retirement a wrestler could ask for. He treated him like gold every step of the way. He went out an undefeated man. And if
It's the amazing Gunther.
If Bryan Danielson wanted Moxley, then he was going to get Moxley.
Gunther, the magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Hey, M. Mills, I'm putting up the ones for you. You are the one tonight with the $50 Gunther bomb. It is M. Mills. Where are my bombs at here? Bombs away. We got a bomb tonight. Looked like we were going to go bombless tonight. M. Mills made sure we had at least one bomb here on this stream. Thank you, M. Mills. Much appreciated. Always good to see Gunther. All right, we're at 412 likes, which means we are going to be the booker right now. We made it. Finally did it. Let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
All right. Looks like we're only going to be doing this twice this week if we hit the goal on Wednesday. So let's make the most of this. We're not going to have too many of these this week, so I want this one to be good. We need a good Be the Booker tonight. We begin with Too Cool, Grandmaster Sexay, and Scotty Too Hottie. They were tag team champions, weren't they? I think at least once. Too Cool. Going to be stepping into the ring against the Von Erich boys, Kerry and Kevin Von Erich. And when the match is over, Too Cool and the Von Erichs are going to stand in the middle of the ring and they're going to do the dance. And all the girls in Dallas at the Sportatorium are going to lose their minds. My God, they're going to be so wet. Oh. As long as they buy tickets to come to the next show, that's all that matters. But my God, I mean, back in the day, can you imagine the Von Erich boys in the middle of the ring doing the dance? Oh my God, it would be like a slip and slide with these women. All right. So that's Tag Team Be the Booker. Now we go to Women's Be the Booker. Off to a good start here. We begin with Gigi Dolan. Whatever happened to her? Let me guess. ACL. We haven't seen Gigi Dolan in a while. That's right. Marquand says that the crowd would be an ocean. The waves would be crashing down upon the Sportatorium in Dallas. Gigi Dolan, one-on-one with Thunder Rosa. What are we thinking about this? I like Thunder Rosa. I like Thunder Rosa. I'll give it the belt. As long as Gigi is healthy, gets that knee fixed up, good to go, medically cleared, I'll give that the belt. We got one more left. One more. Should we pick a stip? Stipulation? No yeah, we'll do stipulation. Why not? Let's do stipulation first. Our main event tonight is going to be a Hell in a Cell match. We just had a Hell in a Cell match last weekend, and now we're having another one. Look at this. Back to back. We're going back to back here with Hell in a Cell. So now we know the kind of match. Now we just need to know who's going inside the cell. Oh no! Christian Cage says your father is dead. Spin again. How did you know? You son of a bitch. What a son of a bitch. What a prick. I guess we have to spin again. All right, well, here we go. Oh, it's Danhausen. Where the hell's he been? Danhausen is going inside the cell. And who will Danhausen be wrestling inside the cell? Bum-ass Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin and Danhausen in a Hell in a Cell match. I didn't think it was possible to have me yearning for Seth Rollins and The Fiend inside Hell in a Cell, but that'll do it. That'll do it. I never thought I'd sit here and say that, but that'll do it. This is a blood feud. I'm not, I don't know about that. It's a hard match. I know. First Christian insults me, and now this. What a terrible night. Luis says, let's go Dodgers, let's go Mets. No. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You know, the mayor of New York, okay, who's under indictment for fucking 20 million things, he was spotted. They had a picture of him in the paper. He was wearing a hat that had the Mets logo on one side and the Yankees logo on the other. I don't care what he's accused of doing. He should be indicted just for that. You can't do that. I mean, you talk about pandering. You got to pick a side, my friend. You can't be wearing a hat with both logos. That'd be like Luis walking around with the Dodgers logo on one side and a Mets logo on the other. You can't be doing that. Doesn't work that way. Blue Jay says, my Tampa Bay Rays are suffering. We got hope next year. Your Tampa Bay Rays have...
I love you, Solo. You are my tribal chief.
Thank you, Wolfman. Yeah, I think your Tampa Bay Rays may have to find another place to play baseball. They got bigger problems right now. Joshua Labachek. Love you, Solo, but it's Los Angeles Dodgers all day. In your opinion, what do you think needs to happen for Jey to reunite with Roman and his brother? I think he needs Sammy to probably convince him and talk him into it and give him a good reason to at least consider their offer. I think in the end, it comes down to family. They're all blood, hence the bloodline. And at the end of the day, family, the bond that family members have, blood is thicker than water, and blood is a very powerful thing. And so I think in the end, with enough convincing, Jey could come around. They don't have to promise him anything. They don't have to offer him anything. They just got to continue to wear him down and work on him. I think Sammy will play a role in it, and eventually he'll come around. And it could also be a case where maybe if Solo's bloodline feels, they see what's going on, and if they feel like Jey may end up coming in to help, they may strike first. They may make a preemptive strike, and they may show up on Raw and attack Jey Uso. And the minute that happens, if Solo Sikoa or Jacob Fatu or Tama Tonga, if they attack Jey Uso, that might be the catalyst, ultimately, that has him standing side by side with Roman and with Jimmy. Up to this point, there's been no interaction between the two. But if that changes everything. Juan Ocampo This is my main Met shirt here. How dare you insult it? I'm not even going to read your super chat now. And Uffman Entertainment. Mets tie it up back to Citi Field on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for Grimace. Let's go Mets. They're coming home. They're going to have all that hometown momentum. I certainly hope they could pull it out. The Dodgers are a tough team, man. They're a tough team. I don't want to get ahead of myself here and say that it's going to be easy, because it's not. It's never easy with this fucking team. But we could win this. We could win this. You got to have hope. You got to believe. And I believe that we have reached the end of our day together here. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me, even with a mostly dull episode of Raw, a dull taped episode of Raw. Not the most exciting night, but we made the most of it, and hopefully they'll come back stronger next Monday. Hopefully you guys will also be here on Wednesday for the Dynamite stream. Even if you don't watch Dynamite, you don't have to watch Dynamite. I'll be here to recap it all for you. Just make sure you're parked right here on the channel. And we will go over the good, the bad, and the ugly from AEW Dynamite on Wednesday night. Go back and check out episode 883 of the podcast. We were in the top 5 earlier today for all wrestling podcasts in the United States. The only fan-hosted podcast in the top 5. How about that? Take that, Busted Open. Well, I guess even Busted Open now has wrestlers, right? They have plenty of wrestlers on there. But take that, LaGreca. Go check out episode 883 if you missed it. Got some good shit on there. All right, I will see you guys back here on Wednesday night for the Dynamite stream. Take care and brush your hair. See you back here in 48 hours.